Hello, Genevieve Jacobs from Region Media with you for this week's news update, and we're in the stacks at AIATSIS at the Institute of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies on the side of the lake with Jude Barlow, Auntie Jude Barlow, who is the Director of People and Learning here at AIATSIS. We're at the beginning of Reconciliation Week, and on Monday, Reconciliation Day will be celebrated as a public holiday here in the ACT. This year it's taking place up at the Arboretum, and it's always intended as a chance to have conversations, for people to learn more about each other, and in doing so, explore the past and what the future might look like. Auntie Jude, one of the ways that we'll do that at the Arboretum is with language workshops. This is, I know, very close indeed to your heart. Talk to us about what we know now and what we're learning about Ngunnawal language.
Oh, there are so many things that we didn't know and that we now know, including, I think one of the most interesting facts for me is that Ngunnawal, when you write it down, you can actually write it in any way, much like the Warlpiri language. So it's unlike English. You can put the words in any order and it still has the same meaning and context and still tells the same story.
Yes. It's a really fascinating intellectual puzzle, that, isn't it? And a real challenge to the idea that English is the only way to describe the world. As a Ngunnawal woman yourself, tell me your feelings about why it's important for us to know more about Ngunnawal and why the effort that's going into discovering lost words, reconstructing, bringing this back together is important.
I think it's to do with language is the basis of culture. It's how we learn and share everything. And for Ngunnawal people, it's relearning or remembering, actually, I think, our language so that we can enliven the language and enliven our culture. And it's really important to speak Ngunnawal on this country in a spiritual sense so that our ancestors are quelled, if you will, if that's the right word, or quieted, knowing that everyone is safe on this country. And speaking Ngunnawal gives us that little bit of cultural safety, I think.
That is a beautiful way to express it. And I think language that comes from country also describes that country. It tells us about the people who lived here, their beliefs, who they are, how they understand the world around them.
Absolutely. And I think it's... And it also, I think, the importance of relearning or remembering our language also tells that story in a really positive way of what we've lost. So we're actually talking about what we're now gaining rather than the deficit kind of narrative that's been going on for a number of years. And I think deficit stuff stops us moving forward. But if we reverse that and say, well, now we're remembering and we're relearning and we're telling our history and we want you to join us, that is the true reconciliation for me.
Yeah. And as you said there, we want you to join us, and I've had people say to me in the past, is it appropriate to use Ngunnawal language? Is it appropriate for us to say things in language? It is, it absolutely is. So I'd love to ask you for some words in Ngunnawal for us.
So one of the words and one of the things that I've been talking about in some welcomes that I've done this week is I went to Mount Rogers School in Melbourne and I taught them a couple of words. The first word, of course, is hello in Ngunnawal, which is yuma. And where it's the Ngunnawal people's gift to everyone to use and share, and because it's such a positive affirmation of, you know, here we are together on Ngunnawal country. The other word that, or two words that I love to share with everyone is Janyamaba, which means thank you. So, and that's another positive way of learning language. And I was amazed at the school at Mount Rogers how they all just did it like that. And children, I mean, that's the future, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. It's and perhaps one more for us.
So one last word, I guess, is Yinjamara, which is a Ngunnawal and Wiradjuri word. That means respect, and more broadly it means, you know, honouring and kindness and being respectful. And I think it's a great word for people to learn, because I want people, when they're on Ngunnawal country, to be respectful of each other.
Mm-hmm. Auntie Jude, we've got Reconciliation Day coming up, and that's a really important time to have conversations. So we want to really encourage people to go up to the Arboretum. It's open between 10 and 2 for Reconciliation Day, a public holiday here in the ACT. There's a ton of things to do. There are yarning circles, there are face painting workshops. You can interact with the map of languages, which is completely different to the map of Australia that perhaps you've grown up with all those big straight lines on it. This is about placing yourself in the place where you grew up. Perhaps you've had your holidays, perhaps you've lived, but the country that takes place on, and they're all just wonderful experiences. And just learn, ask questions. That's the best way to learn more and reconcile ourselves, which is a complicated and difficult process, but made better by goodwill from all of us. Also making news this week on the Riot Act, we're talking about chocolates, Robin Rose chocolates out at Murray Bateman. Oh, everyone's favourites. The shop's been sold, which was a cause of great angst among the community. It's actually been sold to former Liberal leader Alistair Coe and his wife Yasmin, who already had a chocolate making business. So you can read all about that. Also that blood moon that we've had the other night, that huge red moon, absolutely extraordinary thing to look at. We're talking about the end of the Batemans Bay Bridge. It's being demolished as the big new bridge has gone through. And we're also talking about why ACAT has knocked back the Village Building Company's development proposal for the old AFP headquarters out at Weston. They've been told to go right back to the drawing board. But for now, on Monday, get yourself up to the Arboretum, have conversations, join yarning circles, learn, ask questions. Let's all be together. Auntie Jude, thank you so much for your time. Janyamaba.
Yumalundi.
I'm Genevieve Jacobs, and this is Region Media.